Punk Revolution now. Today we are going to be reviewing Billie Eilish's second album, Happier Than Ever. Do I really need to even give Billie Eilish an introduction? Like, come on, she's all over the freaking radio, all over the internet. Superstar, obviously her debut album was incredibly successful, being catchy and getting a lot of stuff on the radio, while also kind of having a bit like of an alternative and an artsy sort of vibe to it. So, you can listen to Billie Eilish and feel alternative and different than everyone else, even though you're listening to one of the most popular artists in the world. Let's see what she's doing in this newest one, Happier Than Ever. I feel like the rollout for this album was terrible. I honestly didn't even realize that it was going to be released so soon. The singles were crappy. She had a scandal where a lot of people were accusing her of queerbaiting. Like, honestly, even though this is supposed to be a big, exciting release, I feel like my expectations and just excitement and interest in it were at rock bottom. They probably already were, because I don't really give a shit about Billie Eilish, but just they were even lower than you would even expect me to care about this album. So, whatever. Let's start by taking... Oh, look at this. I got like junk in my eye hole. What is that? Is that a pimp? No, it's just dust. What is that? What is that? Is it gone? Oh, man. Okay. Let's take a look at the album cover. This album cover is so unbelievably freaking epic because the album is titled Happier Than Ever, but if you look at the album cover, she looks sad! If you ever doubted that Billie Eilish was a genius, may this album cover and the irony, it's ironic by the way, may the ironic genius wipe your doubts away, because that was so freaking clever. I literally shit my pants and came all over the floor. No freaking wonder no one was excited about this album, because they were too stupid to understand how brilliant this freaking album cover was. Listening to this record, I'll admit, it did catch me off guard a bit, because surprisingly, I feel like for a pop record, this album actually has like a decent amount of integrity, which is something I don't really see in pop records too often. Whether it's the record label pressuring the pop artist to go in this direction or that direction for their career, or whether just, the lyrics of pop records are also usually very superficial and vague, and kind of like a astrology prediction way, where an astrology prediction is so vague it can apply to anyone. Well, usually pop lyrics are the same. With this record, Billie Eilish, it really does feel like it's just her and her brother/producer, Phineas, together in their room for the most part. Maybe they've tricked me, but it does seem like they've mostly avoided any record label pressure, because with this record, it seems like Billie Eilish has decided to go any more personal, more artsy and experimental direction, and a more slow direction. The lyrics here are very personal, often pretty witty, and just very, about Billie Eilish's, specifically her life, very clearly about her becoming famous very young and having all this criticism and judgment and expectations on her, and how she just wants to do her own thing and just have fun like any other woman does, but she's got this, all this kind of pressure going on. Maybe that's not the most compelling, personal narrative, but at least there is a personal narrative there, and it really does, drive this album. It's got this song in the middle of the record called Not My Responsibility, where it's kind of like a monologue that's real whispery and dramatic, that I kind of got to admit, I don't want to say this because it makes me feel like an asshole. It is a little awkward to listen to. It feels like you just went on Facebook and someone you went to high school with just posted this really long post about, just opening up way too much. It feels, it's very dramatic and very personal. It's got that core message kind of driving the record, and that's kind of interesting at the very least. And Billie Eilish, she has a good voice, and her brother is a talented producer. So on some level, you just have to acknowledge that there's talent here. And there's some experimentation here too, like Oxytocin, and the title track Happier Than Ever. You're just here throughout this album. Really, in the production is where most of the experimentation comes through. There's gonna be some cool production in here that kind of reminds me a bit of, maybe R&B and electropop and hip-hop blended together a bit with trip-hop. It feels a little bit groovy and kind of dark in a trip-hoppy way. Maybe EDM that's real slow and subdued. It's got some cool production. And I want to mention the track Happier Than Ever once again, because I think that's really a standout song, maybe Billie Eilish's best song to date, because that song, it really climaxes and has this big anthemic, cathartic explosion that's kind of fuzzy and kind of lo-fi feeling feeling, kind of feels like a rock anthem, but then it has that kick drum kind of going in there that feels sort of like, almost like it's inspired by like lo-fi hip hop or something. Screaming you can hear in the mix, very emotional. Like that's a pretty cool track, you gotta admit it. But then they follow up the song Happier Than Ever with the song Male Fantasy. And Male Fantasy, again, you do get those personal lyrics, which I give a thumbs up to, but like this song, it kind of encapsulates everything wrong with the record because it is a very straightforward, slow, acoustic guitar driven ballad. For all the, personal lyrics and experimentation in the production and nice vocal performances that Billie Eilish has, this album is pretty fucking long and it is really bogged down by a lot of very generic piano and acoustic guitar driven ballads. Maybe these songs are supposed to make you feel like you want to cry. I don't feel like that at all. Maybe if you're like personally invested in Billie Eilish's life, that kind of unfortunate thing where a lot of times pop music is about the person itself more than the music, maybe these ballads would connect with you. But for me, they are just like astoundingly generic and astoundingly just don't bring anything interesting to the table at all. And the end result is just a really inconsistent album. Like when this album is experimenting, it sticks out like a thumb. And when this album is kind of doing the more like acoustic and piano driven ballads, which seems to be the majority of it, it's just like such a fucking slog to get through. And maybe that's where the record label's influences come in, because I know I'm definitely seeing folk is getting a lot more popular in pop music right now. Maybe the record label's like, you gotta do this folk thing that everyone's doing. At the end of the day, I am impressed that Billie Eilish went in a more artistic direction. I'm impressed with some of these lyrics and how personal it can get, but I mean like the end result is just an album that's pretty fucking boring. At the end, I'm giving this a 6.3 out of 10. Not really that enjoyable to listen to from start to finish. Even though I had a lot of good things to say about it, it doesn't matter because the end result is an album that really drags. So 6.3 out of 10. That's higher than I expected I would give a Billie Eilish record. So let's give Billie Eilish some credit there. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. It helps more people find my videos. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Punk Revolution now.